as far as the fit and finish goes, while we're looking closely at the frame, it's average. Plastic is fairly shiny. The paint on it is average. It's on par with what we've seen from other Chinese offerings, and you know, it doesn't astound us, but it doesn't disappoint. So you know, we consider it to be acceptable in this case. Moving forward, you can see one of the total 3 rails on this gun mounted on the side. It can be removed if you'd like to have it off, make it a little more streamlined, or make the gun lighter, but we like to have it on. Gives us a lot of flexibility. You can have your flashlight, laser, whatever you want on there. And of course it has its twin on the opposite side. Also again useful for putting whatever you want on the gun. And you also have ambidextrous sling mounts, which are actually part of the plastic frame itself. We have not tested its total durability, but because it is part of the plastic frame, you might want to be careful as far as putting a lot of strain on it. However, the gun itself is not very heavy, so we don't think it would be too much of a risk in terms of damaging the frame of the gun. Now, one of the coolest features on the MP7A1 is the folding foregrip. We've seen this type of foregrip offered as an add-on accessory pretty much everywhere in the airsoft industry, and we like it because it really affords a lot of versatility and maneuverability. We usually keep it down, but if for some reason you need it up to provide you know, a little more streamline, then you can. If you put it in a holster, for example, this is probably the way you're going to store it. If you're lying on the ground, this is probably the way you're going to want to have it. And it's pretty tight too. I mean, there is some flex to it. It doesn't truly lock in place, but there is a release type lever. You know, you don't need to use it though. It's pretty much just a question of tension and friction that keeps it up or down, but we usually keep it up. However, for our next point, we're gonna put it down. The next point being the battery compartment. Now, unlike many airsoft guns, which store their battery compartment somewhere in the rear of the gun or even in the top of the gun, while this is technically in the frame, you actually access it from the front by pushing this small button. It doesn't even look like a button, but it is. It's a small square plastic part. Push it in, and the entire flash hider, in fact, really the entire front portion of the gun actually pops off, exposing the battery compartment, which I'll show you here. And we have the gun unloaded with the safety on, so you can get an idea of how the battery sits in there. Getting it out is quite simple. Just dump it out. And as you can see, it's a tiny battery. This is a 7.2 volt, 450 milliamp battery. It takes about 2 hours to charge. And it comes with a supplied charger, which is also unique because it's very similar to drills and most cordless power tools. You simply pop the battery in place. You'll hear it click. Assuming you have it plugged in, the light on the charger, which is nice because not all of them have lights, will turn red and you know that you're in business and charging. One thing we do like about the MP7 is this battery setup because it allows for very quick, very easy battery swaps. So should you need another, and you likely will, it's a question of simply pulling it out, making sure that the arrow is up. If you don't do that, you can actually bend the contacts, and you don't want to do that. Contacts inside the gun are very difficult to really do anything with without taking the gun apart, so just be careful and aware of that. Now, this is actually one very smart and we think very, very commendable feature on the MP7. We really have to give credit to Tokyo Marui for this because Well, of course, copied Tokyo Marui, but also props to Well because they decided to copy an excellent safety feature. You'll notice the gun is in safe, as it should always be whenever you're working on any airsoft gun. However, an added safety perk is the fact that within the battery chamber, this is difficult to see, but we'll try to get a little bit of light in there. You may or may not be able to see that. You might just have to take our word. But in any case, when the lever, the fire selector switch lever, is in safe, a pair of tabs allow the battery to slide in without any problem at all. However, if the fire selector switch is in anything but safe, either single fire or fully automatic, a pair of safety tabs actually pop up into the battery chamber and prevent the battery from going in. This is an excellent safety feature. You will not be able to make contact with the leads on the inside until you put the lever into safe mode. Finally, of course, replacing the battery is a simple affair, simply lining up the barrel and clicking it into place. Once you've done that, you're ready to go. Now, the final point on this gun that we'd like to point out, as far as features go, is the flash hider and the protective orange tip. Now, at Airsoft Reports, we strongly recommend that you leave the orange tip on. Without getting too detailed, our sport can be perceived by many as being dangerous. And so the orange tip is really the only thing that separates an otherwise perfectly safe, perfectly fun sport from a potential disaster situation. So we strongly recommend that you leave that orange tip on. That said, for those of you who prefer not to, it pops right off on the MP7 A1. And for those of you wishing to make this gun even more your own, you can swap out the stock flash hider or suppressor for any barrel tip accessory of your choice, whether it be a fake suppressor or perhaps a tracer unit if you can find one that adapts. It does unscrew counterclockwise, and it is all metal. So, you know, whatever you want to do, you really can customize this gun quite a bit with the stock rails and, of course, this removable muzzle tip feature. We don't see this a lot on many airsoft guns, so this is a fairly unique aspect of the MP7A1 from Well. Overall, the gun has left us with mixed feelings. In our performance tests, we found that it fired definitely below the average of most full-size airsoft guns at about 225 FPS at best using the standard 0.2 gram BB. Of course, that jumped dramatically when going to the 0.12 gram BB, but we prefer not to use those due to quality concerns in terms of the BB. So overall, your FPS is quite low. Now, we feel it only fair to classify this airsoft gun in the context of what it is, and that is a submachine gun, or as HK like to refer to it as, a personal defense weapon, PDW for short. That means that its true purpose in life was to sort of double as the cross between a pistol and a submachine gun. It's a hybrid in effect. Therefore, its primary purpose will involve close quarters combat at short ranges. In that role, it actually performs quite well. Its RPM is high, which is what you want in that type of situation, and its velocity is not going to be dangerous, which is certainly something you don't release in close quarters battle and airsoft. Now, that said, for those of you who just can't bear to have this gun be anything less than perfect, there are a ton of options that you can do to improve the performance. The gearbox itself, after some research, we found is what's called a mini type gearbox. That is, it's not a true version 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, none of the above. It is a hybrid, and it uses 4 smaller gears as opposed to the 3 larger gears. It therefore has a little bit lower torque, and from what we've heard, the shimming of the gears is not perfect. Therefore, if you have the skill, a good shim job in the gearbox can help improve efficiency and perhaps boost your FPS just a little. In addition to the usual piston upgrades, etc., you could also consider getting a tight bore barrel and perhaps an improved hop-up bucking, which can give you better accuracy. In addition to that, you can also find external battery packs. Now, of course, the aesthetics might be a concern for you, but you can find them. From our research on the web, we have discovered that you can boost the FPS to around 300 feet per second, though it's going to be between that, really 280 and 300 feet per second. Your accuracy will probably be comparable to most submachine gun airsoft gun, and your rate of fire will be dramatically improved with that external battery. Therefore, in its stock form right now, this is not an airsoft gun that I would take into a skirmish against full-size airsoft guns. However, stock, I would definitely take it into a CQB situation, and upgraded, it could definitely hold its own against virtually any other airsoft gun on the market today. This has been an Airsoft Reports presentation. Thanks for watching.